The meta of Overwatch 2 is forever changing. Heroes constantly get small changes and patches, and even in the case of some heroes, they get completely reworked. This is a very necessary thing, considering how much the game evolves each season. The heroes can't always stay the same, otherwise they'll be forever in a state where they're either so good that they're broken, or so bad that they're practically unplayable. In the case of Orisa, one of the heroes who had a slight rework not long back, she's in this state where playing her is the best option as a tank because of how versatile she is. She has all kinds of attacks for different situations: crowd control, knockback, and just flat out high damage output. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can trample the enemy team as the big warhorse. But first, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and leave a like on this video, as I want to continue making Overwatch 2 related content that's not only entertaining, but educational too. First things first, kit breakdown. Her primary fire is kind of like Lucio's bullets, but rather than firing 3 shots at once, you can fire indefinitely until your gun overheats. Now this can be a bit annoying to manage, simply because you might forget about it in the heat of the moment, but for the most part it's a pretty easy thing to use. She has 2 javelin abilities, throw and spin. Throw is pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to throw your javelin at somebody and knock them back, stunning them in the process. Spin allows you to block bullets and move faster, allowing you to position yourself in the enemy team's backline to get a nice ult off. This can also do knockback, but it's much less than how much throwing the javelin does. Plus it doesn't stun them. Her final ability is Fortify, which gives her an extra bit of overshield and makes her immune to debuffs and, most importantly, being headshot by enemies. This recently got a nerf last week in the mid-season patch in the form of the cooldown is a bit longer, but that doesn't make it any worse. It is a brilliant ability that you should definitely be using to your advantage. My first tip on learning how to play Orisa is to time your attacks accordingly. With Orisa's kit, you can play at both a medium and close range, but you need to know when to attack at what range. If the enemy team is getting aggressive, try and play to your range and slowly melt them down. Then when they're lower health, go in with your javelin spin and get really aggressive. If you really wanted to, you could even get into their backline and make the off angle to create more space for your team to play in. This is especially effective in game modes like push, where your team can get held in a choke point. With Orisa, you can make a lot of space and in turn make your team get out of the choke point, making it easier for you guys to contest the enemy team. My second tip on learning how to play Orisa is to know when to use your Fortify ability. As I mentioned before, the fact that it's been nerfed a little bit doesn't mean it isn't good anymore. In fact, it might actually be her best ability. Fortify means she's both A, got more health so harder to kill, and B, immune to everything. She can't get antied, slept, stunned, knocked back, or anything. She also can't be headshot by anyone, making her even harder to kill on top of the fact that she can't be debuffed, and she has more health than usual. Fortify is a great ability for when you're going into the front line to get more aggressive and make more space for your team, as it means you can hold an entire section of the map for practically free. My third tip on learning how to play Orisa is to know when and how to use your ult, Terror Surge. Now, Terror Surge is great because not only does it give you the effects of Fortify whilst you're charging up your javelin, but it sucks enemies into it too, making it much easier to secure the kills. The only downside to it is that it has to be charged up before it can do max damage. It can be charged up to 500% to do max damage, but even at around 200%, it can deal a decent chunk to enemies and even sometimes flat out kill them. The best thing to do with this ult is to work with characters that have knockback abilities that can keep them inside the ult area and make sure you actually get the kill. Having a Lucio that can boop an escaping enemy back into your ult to make sure you can secure a kill can be super helpful, so make sure you try and synergize your ult with your teammates. My fourth and final tip on learning how to play Orisa is more of a general thing that you can apply to every hero, and that's to know who counters you on top of who you counter. As Orisa, you can counter a fair few heroes because of how much damage you can mitigate and how much knockback you have. For example, if you're fighting an enemy Ramattra, you're bound to win purely because you have more range and a higher primary damage output. If he starts getting close to you in Nemesis form, you can just knock him back with your javelin. Just remember that there are heroes that counter you, such as Symmetra and Mei, because you can't block their primary fire rate with your javelin spin, so be a bit more cautious when playing against them. The good thing that you have over them is that your range is much further than theirs, so use that to your advantage. And that just about does it for my guide on how to play Orisa. Overall, she's a really good tank to learn because of how versatile she is. She can be played both tactically and aggressively depending on the circumstances that your team is in. She's really good in 1v1s because of how much survivability she has, and even in team fights she can be super valuable because of how much space she can make for the entire team to play in whilst trying to get kills. Horse meta is truly alive and well at the minute because of how good she is. Obviously, this is subject to change. She might get nerfed even more, but at least she's really good at the minute. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Once again, I'm going to ask you to like this video, as it lets me know that you find these videos not only to be helpful, but entertaining. Let me know if you have any requests for other heroes in the comments below, and subscribe so you don't miss that guide when it comes out. There are some heroes that I probably won't be able to make a guide on, simply because I don't play them enough. But there are many more heroes on the list that I can make guides on than I can't make guides on. Finally, have a nice day or night if you're watching this at night, and make sure to check out my other videos. Not only will I appreciate it, but you might too.